Update.
The temporary return of the gold artifacts is as controversial as it is significant. Many here believe that those items be permanently restored at the Mishia Palace behind me. But that's unlikely to happen because of UK legal restrictions. Others think that it's an important step towards getting those artifacts back. They were looted during what was popularly known as the Serenity War of 1874. The British launched a reprisal attack on the Ashanti Kingdom, raided this very same palace and made away with the artifacts. Discussions to bring them back dragged on for several decades. The arrival of the gold artifacts will coincide with the Silver Jubilee anniversary of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the King of the Ashantis, and the 150th anniversary of the Anglo-Ashanti Wars of 1873 and 1874. The items are a symbol of Ashanti traditional authority. They are also an embodiment of the spirit of former Ashanti kings. This new arrangement is a way to navigate around the complexities of UK legal restrictions and a diplomatic effort to heal wounds from the past. Thomas Nadi, BBC News, Kumasi in Southern Ghana.
I'm Wahiga Mwaura. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.
Masculine society. The main purpose that we even formed the Labour Masculine Society was to influence the kids in the neighborhood.
The last time we sponsored the child, some of the children came to say, Pastor, me too, I'm going to learn hard. I'm going to make sure I do well in school so that you can help me get some books.
Educating we are using Labour Masquerade as a way of reaching the vulnerable people in the society. That is what we stand out for.
This is even their third year, and they are doing extremely good in the Labour community. This is not Tadi, this is Tema.
From farm to plate, do you really know what you're eating? Any glitch in the circuit of the food chain can change the price and size of what you eat. Technology has totally changed the face of farming, but how is Ghana plugging in? Join Emma Davis and Prince Apia on the food chain as project startups in the agri sector, highlights the gains and plight of industry players while engaging the experts for more insights in agri-related issues. Food chain, everything agriculture and more, airs during the Joy Business Report every Thursday at 1 p.m. on Joy FM and every Saturday at 6 p.m. on the Joy News channel with a repeat on Tuesdays at 2:30 p.m.
So spokesperson for the new force, Shalima Abuisi, has been granted bail by a Kaneshi district court. Down here, there are hundreds of people that have come in solidarity of Shalima Abuisi. What has Madam Shelley done?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
But you just came. Yeah. I mean, which people asked you to come?
My brothers.
Your brothers?
Yes.
So, where are they? Are they also here?
Yes.
What did they tell you before you follow them?
They tell me, say, make I come help them to come see the Madam Shelley.
But you know Madam Shelley?
No.
You've spoken to her before? You don't
know? No, but I see her for graphic.
Graphic.
Yes.
So that's the only place that you've seen her.
Yes.
Yes, so yeah, my meeting there was say. Shelley. Madam Shelley.
Shelley Ofri.
Oh, ya na wa ya kan se circle haya, Accra haya.
So to ade ni.
Ono na boa ye ma me na boa ni nti na wa say. So mu nja no because ono na boa kakra.
So where do you know Madam Shelley?
Madam Shelley, really we know her. She has been let's say a dual citizen of Ghana. Yeah, she's a half citizen of Ghana, and we know her. And we know her from the grassroots. It's not today. We've been working for her. She has a lot of entities. So we say, free Shelley.
For how long have you known her?
Oh, really? I've known Madam Shelley for about 8 years now.
Hello, good evening. My guest tonight is a man who burst onto the scene with a lot of truth saying. He spoke truth to power, even though he was a serving police officer and then a senior one at that. Many loved him for it. He talked about how we could deal with corruption in the police. He talked about how we could deal with laggards. He talked about how we could deal with making sure that the right people are appointed into the service. He has so much international experience too, working all over the world. Then later on, he got into trouble. We were told he had been invited by the National Investigations Bureau, which turned into an arrest. Then subsequently, he was accused of abetting people who wanted to remove the Akufo-Addo government in November 2019. Well, yesterday, he was acquitted and discharged, together with 2 others. Of course, with those 6 others, have also been convicted. On our front tonight, we will get into the head, the situation, and understand ACP Agordzo from all perspectives. More importantly, how does he feel now? And is his life truly over? You're welcome to our front, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you are doing well today.
Very well, in high spirit.
Between last night and today, what have you been doing? Dancing around, having calls, having parties? Exactly what have you been doing?
I've been praying, I've been dancing, I've been receiving calls. Those are generally what I've been doing. And I'm very fine.
You must be in high spirits.
Very high spirit. And I've always been in high spirit. If you had not seen me before yesterday's judgment, maybe that's why you may think that I've been in a higher spirit, but I've always been in high spirit.
Were you expecting this?
Very much so. And remember when I was arraigned before Kaneshi Court the first time, I gave a brief interview to the media. I spoke to the media and said I wasn't going to be moved by this, and that I was going to stand for this till the end, and I had done nothing untoward. Remember, I specifically said that if I said something that is not related or not linked to any coup, you could not bug me with any of this. And I stood for this till this time.
I will explore whether or not you are, even though set free, you are in the public's opinion guilty. That question I would explore. I would explore why a police officer is also of your caliber timber to the level of an assistant commissioner will be planning to remove the government of the day. Of your decent nature, a man who had actually espoused a lot, that question will also come up. But first, some of us got to know you through your public pronouncements within the police. And we knew also that you had a PhD because, I mean, a few of you have in the police service anyway. But who really is Benjamin Agordzo? How did he become ACP? And how come all of this happened to him along the line?
Let me start by saying that my PhD is in politics and human rights.
Okay.
And that speaks a lot. When you combine politics with human rights, there is no way you could escape talking about topical issues. And I was placed at that time as the head of transformation in the police service. And being placed as the head of that transformation meant a lot to me. And I needed to bring together a lot of stakeholders to delve into the problems facing the police service at the time. We discovered a lot of things which I will not talk about here. But then we needed other people to speak for us. And I had already intimated this to the IGP then. And he gracefully accepted the idea. And that was why when this issue of speaking at IDEC came, I said, look, route that thing through the IGP, and they routed through him, and he agreed that I should go and talk about it. The IGP didn't know the content of what I was going to talk about, but he agreed that I should go. And having worked with these vigilante issues as the director of operations, remember, before I became director of transformation, I was the director of operations, managing the 2016 election together with Mr. Yehonu. And therefore, I had known a lot of things about political vigilantes, and I had fair idea. With my research background, I delved into it, and that brought me to the limelight. But before then, I had been talking about these issues, working with IDEC and CODIO and a lot of other civil society organizations in election and then security-related issues. I had been director of visibility or national patrols, and I had held other positions as a district commander and taught at the police academy for a very long time, and therefore I served the police service for 36 years.
Okay, almost 4 decades.
Yes, 36 years. Now, maybe I have to preempt some of these things. So, and I have also traveled out a lot. If there was one police officer who traveled a lot, I'll be one of them. One of the 2 or 3 outside this country, teaching here and there at police academies in other countries, in China and everywhere. Taught in police, Kofi Annan, University of Education, Winneba, at the conflict center and other things. So I'm not new to some of these things, particularly because of my area of speciality. Human rights and conflict, human rights and politics.
Now, it's interesting because, of course, many did not know your history in the police beyond the times you became very popular for speaking up on so many issues.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to this point. How did it all start? Yeah. Were you home one day, you were invited by the NIB, then was turned into an arrest? How did it all start?
It all started on one Thursday. I had just returned from Winneba after teaching Master of Philosophy students. And then I received a call from the then IGP. I don't want to mention names, okay? The then IGP. And I realized that there was some urgency in his call. Ben, where are you? By the way, I'm putting together a book on all this. Where are you? And I said I was in town. See me in my office right now. I was a bit concerned because we had been speaking and he had never spoken to me that way. I tried to give excuses, but he said no. Whether you are dressed for office or not, offices closed, people have left the office, come to the office. I went there only to be informed that the BNI wanted to see me and that I should report to the BNI that Friday, the next day, which was a Friday. I asked my IGP whether they had given any reasons for the invitation. He said no. I said, could you please find out? And that's my nature. I said, could you please find out why they are inviting me? Because I needed to know why I'm going to the BNI. So he promised getting back to me. That Friday, I told him I was traveling to, and I had returned from mission, and I had not reported officially to the police service. So I was free to move.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I told him I was going for a funeral. But interestingly, by the time I got home at Vapo, the news was all over. The news was all over that I had been arrested and granted bail. Now,
but have you been arrested?
Nobody had arrested me then. That tells you the propaganda behind the whole thing. Because they had already planned everything and schemed it in such a way that they had already given our names out to certain media houses and other things. So whether I reported or not, it was reported that I had reported. because they were sure that I was going to report that Friday. And so even though I did not report, it was there. So Monday I reported, I spoke to my lawyer, and I reported, and then that was the beginning of a very long story, taking me over almost 4 years, 3 months.
I want you to recount to me. So, in that process, we all knew that. So subsequently we reported.
Yes.
They told you had been arrested.
Yes.
But what was the conversation preceding that you have been arrested? Were they telling you that, no, we think that you are planning a coup? We think you are planning with others to try and overthrow this thing, the government of the day?
You know, it's very funny, and I don't want to go into certain details because I'll put them in a book form. But I was amazed at the manner in which they went about it. First of all, they wanted to separate me from my lawyer, which I resisted. And I think that even annoyed them because BNI is used to do interrogation without lawyers. And I had known that for a very long time. And I told them that the only time they could separate me from my lawyer was when they had told me that I was under arrest. Because at that time they had not told me anything, so you could not separate me. So I resisted it. And therefore that paved the way for me and my lawyers to enter the interrogation room. Now take note, out of the 10 people arrested, I was the only person who was interrogated before my lawyers. And that tells you a story. Because I knew their game and I insisted, I was the only person who was interrogated before my lawyers. None of the others was interrogated before their lawyers. If you listen to the judgment yesterday, the judge said something very informative and very instructive. He said the BNI kept saying that the audio or the recording of the interrogation was available, but they never produced it in court. Why didn't the BNI produce all the interrogation they did in court as part of the disclosures? Yet they went out telling stories. And so that's how it happened. And I was told, we went to the interrogation room, they started asking me questions, I answered, and the questions bordered on 3 or 4 things. One, I had paid 2,000 to Dr. Makpam late to support his intended coup. I explained to them the circumstances under which I paid the 2,000. Of course, they didn't even know I had paid the 2,000, so I told them that I paid 2,000 to him. And even on the platform, I had made a promise on the open platform that looking at the medical outreach program they were undertaking, I was going to support.
So your payment was not towards the planning, the execution, and the conceptualization and implementation of a coup?
Never. And they knew it. BNI knew it. They knew it. And I told them. But you know, they have a way of fabricating things. If they really want to get at you, and they always think that by producing 13 witnesses all saying the same thing, it will mean that it will be taken. They have forgotten that the court operates differently from the way they operated. So you hear General Andor saying the same thing, the Colonel saying the same thing, the Detective Nkrumah saying the same thing, Francis Abuaji saying the same thing, that I had to support the coup, I paid 2,000. The judge said there was no evidence to that effect. And another thing they said was that, aside that, I had talked about a big bang. Now, if you don't understand the idiomatic expression of a big bang, and you take it out of context, so they just picked words and sentences and phrases from different places and pieced them together as evidence. They had forgotten that they are dealing with somebody who had been an investigator in my life, in the police service, and I have served in the police service for 36 years, and therefore you could do it to others, but not to me. And therefore I took my time together with my lawyers and put my case together, dismantling all that they had said, and bringing and putting them in the context in which I said them, which the judges agreed with.
But in all fairness, what business has a senior police officer got to do with somebody like Dr. Mapam, who was actually found guilty anyway? What business do you have not only engaging him, but also being on the platform?
Point of correction, Dr. Mapam was never found guilty. He wasn't alive at the time.
Part of the convicted, actually.
Hold on. No, so far as I'm concerned, he was not convicted yesterday.
I see he died before it.
He died before it, and therefore his evidence was expunged, and he couldn't have been imprisoned in absentia or in his death. So that's point of correction. He was never imprisoned yesterday. He was never convicted yesterday. It was a propaganda by somebody, I don't want to mention the name, that if he was alive, he would have been convicted. That is too presumptive.
Okay. No, I get the point, but he is the man they put before court.
Yes.
In fact, he was projected right from the beginning.
Yes.
As the architect of all of this.
Yes.
How did you connect with such a man?
That's a good one. I had actually stated that thing in open court. On my way to Haiti on UN mission. That was soon after the IDEC presentation. I received a call in Uganda, and the person introduced himself as Dr. McPalm, and that he has this NGO called Take Action Ghana, and that having listened to my advocacy and other things, he thought that being on the platform could be of help to them by way of advice and all that. I said, okay, fine. Send me the profile of your tag platform.
I see the NGO.
Yes, the NGO.
Okay.
And then he sent it. And remember yesterday, the judges read the profile in court. And the profile they sent me indicated that it was a democratically oriented NGO. Who wouldn't want to follow such a thing? And therefore, I agreed to join. And then we began to talk about democratic issues. There was no point, at no point in time, did we discuss anything on the platform about coup d'etat. The issue about, and maybe I may be preempting one of your questions, I don't know, but...
You mean the Arab Spring?
Yes.
The time you had commented that we arrived for an Arab Spring.
Yes, if I may go ahead.
Please proceed.
The only thing that sends some jitters in their spine and whatever is the fact that I mentioned Arab Spring. And yesterday, one minister was still talking about that, despite my acquitted and discharged. He thought that I shouldn't. Do they and I think that they are...
the Attorney General himself, and I heard him speak, he
Yes.
says, what business has a senior police officer, a serving officer, staying on a platform and talking about Arab Spring?
Does he understand Arab Spring? If he doesn't, he should keep quiet. If he doesn't understand Arab Spring, he should keep quiet.
But he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer, but being a lawyer doesn't mean that you know everything. You can be a lawyer and be an ignoramus in an area. I teach conflict. Do you understand me? I told you I teach conflict at even MPhil level. I teach it at Kofi Annan, I teach it at all level. Arab Spring or civil uprising and other things are democratic means of expressing dissent in every society. Today we espouse people like Martin Luther King and other things. Why are we espousing them?
But we knew in 2011 that this is led to the removal of governments. Tunisian example is clear. The other countries within the Arab race, the explicit definition and appreciation.
You are talking about explicit definition. That is common knowledge.
Yes.
But when you look at Arab Spring, it is like any other spontaneous demonstration by citizens to express their dissatisfaction.
Which in the reality and the examples...
If it leads to the fact that a government decides that, do you know that we can... The Kumi Preku could have led to Rawlings saying that, okay, I've resigned. Could it have been called Arab Spring? The Kumi Preku in Ghana...
I'm not sure.
Could have led to Rawlings saying, okay, I've resigned. Once the VAT has been defeated and other things have resigned. When you go to the literature, go and Google it anywhere. Be careful you don't go to Wikipedia.
I get that, of course.
Because when you go to Wikipedia, Wikipedia will give you some definition of a rebellion, a mutiny, and other things. And I proved to the prosecution in court that when they need a definition to issues, they should not go to Wikipedia. But they came out with a Wikipedia definition, which I drew the attention to. And they could not talk about it again. So go to
the Attorney General of the Republic.
I'm saying the prosecution team.
Okay, all right.
Whoever was representing them, and it's on record. I can produce. It's a court record. can give you.
But that should be very strange. I mean.
Yes. So at the end of the day, you come to appreciate the fact that when you go to Wikipedia definition, it will tell you it's a mutiny. It is so and so. But go to other definitions which are acceptable in academia, because when you quote today, you quote Wikipedia definitions in academia, in the universities, they will not take you serious.
I get it. I know that.
So
every first year student of a university would know that. That's basically.
So I'm saying that when you want to know the real definition of Arab Spring, don't go to Wikipedia. Go to other sources and it will tell you the real meaning of it.
And you say that's what they confronted you with, a Wikipedia definition of it.
A Wikipedia definition and their myopic understanding of that term. And that is what they confront. And that's what they have held on to till today. And that's what Attorney General is still holding on to. He should go and learn. He should go and learn. Because he's not dealing with just people. He's dealing with people who have also climbed the ladder somewhere.
I get that. What exactly did you say about Arab Spring?
Look, during one of our conversations, Dr. McPam asked me, the question was simple. What do I think about Arab Spring? I expressed my opinion. And I told him that, look, the seed of Arab Spring has been sown in Ghana. We are waiting for the triggers. And I began to tell him about some of the challenges. But before that, I had expressed similar opinion on Alert with Adam Bona. You can find out from Adam Bona. I had expressed Alert is a WhatsApp platform.
Oh, okay. Different WhatsApp platform.
Different WhatsApp platform in which Dr. Nyahuma Cruz Tamokla said that a civil uprising was imminent in Ghana. And then to get jittery about it. And then I explained that what is the jittery about this when people mention Arab Spring and the civil uprising? I mean, these are common issues that are being dealt with elsewhere every day, and it's a civil way of showing dissent and other things. And I express the same thing over there. I don't want to mention a name because it will trigger another thing.
Get you.
But at the end of the day, a minister of state on the platform took me on and said that he will bring me to order. And that was the beginning of my problem. A minister of state on that platform. And Adam Bona knows that minister very well. I don't want to mention his name at all.
In all fairness, since you've just mentioned ministers and there are several of them, it will be fair if you let us know who is
Dominic Nitiwu. The Minister of Defense, who doesn't understand what civil uprising is, and who doesn't understand what Arab Spring is, said openly on the platform that he was going to take me on.
The defense minister was telling a senior police officer he
was going to take me, and he wrote it on the platform, and I have a copy of it. And Adam Bona confronted him over it and asked him to be very careful the way he confronts people on the platform. So that was the beginning of my ordeal. And because of that, and don't forget, this whole thing started with defense intelligence. Defense intelligence under the auspices of the defense minister. So when he said he was going to take me on, he was going to bring me to order, he had already initiated it.
So let's get this straight. You are saying that it's not the NIB that started investigating your matters.
No, I can tell you. We have something in investigation we call you reconstruct the scene.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So by reconstructing the scene, you are saying that you go back and reflect, and then you begin to see how this whole thing started. And you are able to make a logical conclusion. When I reconstructed the whole thing, I realized by the time the man said he was going to bring me to order, he had already initiated the investigation. And I got to know that the defense intelligence was the ones who started the investigation with the military people, with General Andor and others, before submitting the whole thing to BNI. Now do you get my point?
I get you.
So having reconstructed the scene, I can tell you that it was the defense intelligence, Mr. Nitiwu, the defense minister, Mr. Nitiwu, who initiated this whole arrest process. He can take me anywhere he wants, and I'll prove to him that he was the one who did it. And I'm saying this on record because I have it. It's on phone. Whatever he said is on phone. It's on Alert with Adam Bona. If you ask Adam Bona, he will show it to you.
And this was because there's a disagreement over whether or not an uprising
was possible or not, and a civil uprising which was posted by somebody allegedly said they said Dr. Nyaho Tamekulu says Arab civil uprising is imminent in Ghana, and we started discussing it. If you don't like my views or you don't understand my views, ask for clarification. People say you are on platform and you are talking. What are platforms for? Platforms are for expressing opinions, especially on security matters.
The expectation is that mindful of the role you play in the security service.
Mindful of what role?
Because you are a senior officer.
Yes.
When people hear you say certain things, the presumption is that we should take it very serious.
Yes, then they should have taken it serious. They should have taken it serious. How many people haven't spoken about Arab Spring in Ghana? They didn't say that. How many people? I don't want to mention names, but how many people haven't spoken about? Have they been arrested?
What you are telling me today is that our conception or the understanding that some have that Arab Spring means that it's a coup d'etat. It's a coup d'etat.
It's myopic.
It's an unconstitutional change of government.
It's myopic.
That perception
is myopic.
Is something that is not what you meant at any point you expressed.
Not exactly how you are saying it. It is myopic. It is one-sided.
Okay.
Because when you go into the literature, when you go to common definition, go and Google apart from Wikipedia, and you will see what it really means.
So you at no point in time had the intention to collaborate with others or support any attempt to unconstitutionally remove government?
I will never do that. Look, if you look at my background, I have been on at least 3 peacekeeping missions in the world. I've been to Sudan, where I served in a higher capacity as a training officer. I went to Somalia, where I served for about 4 to 5 years as the training and development coordinator. And I went to Haiti with the UN as a planning officer. Now, these are not common positions that you think. And so I know what it means to destabilize a country. And I know the consequences. I was only drawing attention to issues that could bring us challenges and which we must watch. And what is wrong with it?
But you are a police officer.
Yes.
If you have any of these outline mindful of your wonderful history,
yes,
shouldn't the hierarchy of the police be the source where you share this opinion? With the command, with the IGP, with the other superiors that you have in the police office? Should you be acting like a layperson, sharing such opinion on a platform, WhatsApp, with other people present? Is that not problematic?
Are you implying that even the speech I gave at IDEC talking about political vigilantism and the fact that there is political interference in Ghana police service and other things was also problematic?
No, I feel that those are very bold declarations.
So and
you were applauded for it.
Very good.
You were as one of the few police officers who had the temerity to say the things that people knew but could not say. But it's talking about Spring and these related things, not taking it too far.
No.
This is benefit of hindsight.
And I'm saying that it is only when you understand Arab Spring and then civil uprising in a myopic way, that is where you understand you will be taking it too far.
You know that even as a communication person,
yes,
if you are talking to people,
yes,
and you know that there's a potential that they misconstrue what you say, you will not lend yourself to that possible interpretation.
Now, if people misunderstand, they just have to ask for clarification. And we all ask for clarification all the time. For instance, we are talking right now. If I said something that you didn't like, or you didn't understand, or you felt was too something, you could ask me for clarification. So on a WhatsApp platform, where we have the Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior, and political activists, police officers, military officers, what else? We should all have a common understanding of such basic terms, not to overstretch it, unless people have political, they have political reasons why they did what they did.
And in hindsight, as you speak today,
yes.
Do you think you would have actually decided not to belong to certain platforms, like the TAG platform, like the Alert platform?
I have no regrets for belonging to TAG platform. And for the records, I have not removed myself from the platform till today.
You're still there?
I'm still there. people who have left the platform, I'm still there. The fact is that at the time I was on the platform, I didn't see anything untoward. You see, if I had removed myself, I wouldn't have gotten access to the information that I got to defend myself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very good. So from the beginning, I told myself, whatever they said I have said, I'm ready to face it.
But let's take you out.
Yes.
You heard how the others had procured arms and all of that. Were you worried about it?
You know something? I don't want to go into that. I don't want to talk about
because these are people that say somewhere related to you.
Raymond, I don't want to talk about them because it will mean that I'll be passing a subject on whatever.
The court has ruled on them.
The court has ruled. I am not ruling.
Okay.
Take what the court has said.
Well, you think they are innocent?
I'm not making any comments on their rule.
Did you know that they had purchased these arms?
I was not aware, but let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Raymond, you are on a number of platforms. If a few people on that platform form another platform and they are planning something, will you get to know?
Well,
you won't know.
Yes.
So, see, and that was how I proved my innocence yesterday.
Okay.
Because you see, before I joined the platform, it was not until they did the disclosures that I realized, oh, before I was brought onto that platform, there existed more than a year earlier or so, a platform called the Executive Platform that they allegedly planned something on.
Okay.
Whether that allegation is true or not, I'm not going to make any valid judgment on that. And yet, the prosecution sought to imply that I was on that platform and I was part of the planners.
As in the earlier platform, the executive one.
You see, what I realized was that they did not do a thorough work. They were just carried away by emotions that, oh, now we have gotten Agordzo. Let us pin him. And therefore, they hurriedly picked the words and other things. He was on this platform, he was on this platform, only to come under cross-examination to say, I don't remember. Yes, that was what happened. To say, oh yeah, he was on that platform, he was part of the planning, only to be pushed under cross-examination to say, oh, we don't really remember whether he was there or not. That was what happened. And then because they saw my name over there on other related platforms, they now decided to say that, okay, that money was even paid as part of the preparation for the coup.
The 2,000.
The 2,000. Meanwhile, they were not there when I paid the money. They had no evidence when and how I paid it until I told them. So you could not ascribe a different motive to it from what I had said, unless you have other evidence, contrary evidence.
Now, all of this is very interesting. I mean, because you were put before court.
Yes.
It's been almost 4 years.
Almost
a
4
bit
years.
over 4 years.
Yes.
Of course, there was a time that they were not even denying you bail along
Yes,
the line, and
yes.
you struggled to get a bail. You went on hunger strike.
I never went on hunger strike.
But we're told that you were on hunger strike.
I decided not to eat at BNI for 5 days.
Oh, okay.
And that was a personal decision. And I'm not going to explain it. It was a personal decision. When I was arrested first, I decided not to eat. And when they even arrested me the second time, I decided not to eat their food. And I wouldn't explain why I didn't want to.
Why you suspected the food?
I didn't want to. I could not trust people who were fabricating
you were
stories.
fasting?
No, I was never fasting. It was a decision I took that I wasn't going to eat the BNI food, because people who are able to fabricate stories and concoct stories about your involvement in something that you know you have not done, how could I trust them to eat their food? That was the principle I stood for. So I was not fasting. I was not on hunger strike. I just decided not to eat. And I was drinking water. And the water was brought by them, but I knew that water was brought in a sachet, maybe 2-3 sachets. So anybody could just pick and drink. And that's what all of us were doing. So I drank a lot of water. That sustained me, and I was even stronger than those who were eating.
Tell me about your time under some of these conditions. How was it like?
I would say that it was inhumane. You were not allowed you didn't know the time. You had no information from outside. You could not receive visitors. If you really have to receive visitors, the visitors could be frustrated because it could take them 6 to 7 hours before they could get to you, so they would prefer going back. And that is one thing that I think that, you see, Raymond, let me make this appeal. Anytime somebody is arrested in Ghana, the common thing we say is let the law take its course. Let the law take its course.
Due process.
Due process. Do you know the kind of due process that is taking its course in DNI? Do you know the kind of subculture that they are practicing there?
I have no idea.
Are you aware that it is difficult for lawyers to get access to their clients over there? Are you aware that they most of the time prevent lawyers from seeing their clients? Are you aware that they don't allow lawyers into their interrogation rooms? And that they do their own interrogation and come out to say that the person confessed that? So anytime security analysts and other things will let the law take its course, I laugh, I smile.
But you've been in the police for
I have been in the police for...
You're not aware of this?
No, listen. I've always been aware of the subculture, not only in the BNI or NIB, but also in the police service.
Okay.
Let me admit that at a point in that I'm teaching, I tell my students that look, sometimes we are not too comfortable about lawyers coming into our cases or coming to make inquiries about our cases. But
even though that's a lawful thing
that's
to
a
do.
lawful thing to do. But wait a minute, what about if your relative was involved?
Okay.
What if your mother was involved?
Or in this case, you were the one that...
Or in this case, what if you were involved? And any time I asked that question, it changed their views and their perceptions. Okay? Anytime they said, oh, some small slap is needed for him to tell you, I said, what if your father was slapped that way? How would you feel? Would you say that was a small slap? So that kind of approach was what I was using, and those are some of the areas that I differ significantly, because I really will want to go against the normal way of doing things, especially the subculture.
Is that what landed you in trouble?
Maybe some of them.
Perhaps you spoke up too early, too soon, and too loud. You think so?
Well, I have never regretted my speaking out, because at the time I spoke out, I had served in the police service for about 32 years.
Yes.
And remember
that doesn't sound like too early anyway.
Yeah, so it wasn't too early. And by the time I left in last November, I was 36 years in the police service. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't have said that it was too early. And don't forget, this is not the first time that this kind of things are happening to me.
Well, I have no idea.
Let me just give you, if you listen to Kokubako on news on the 9th of November, Saturday, with Samson, he said that this gentleman, what I'm going to say may sound prejudicial, but he went ahead to say it. Mm-hmm. All the same, though he knew it was going to be prejudicial, I thought he was going to restrain himself because I was under investigation, I was in court, but he went ahead and said that he had been removed from the service before. Yes, I had been removed from the service before because I stood for what was right. Because I challenged my regional commander over an issue, and because of that, I was removed from the service. That was in 2007. I was a commander at Bolga at the time. Okay. I was a superintendent of police at the time. Somebody decided to use the back of the police cell as a thoroughfare. And I said, no, you can't do that. And I blocked it. That was the sin and the crime I committed against the police service. The regional commander came there. I don't want to mention names. The regional commander summoned me. I explained to him. He agreed with me. Third day, he comes to me with the woman and then orders me to open the place up for them. I said, no, master. I was sacrificing the interests of the police for the interest of this woman. Much me for the IGP. I ended up being dismissed from the police service. So you see, I always stand for what I believe is right. And even if I get trouble, I still stand for it. And that is why from the beginning of this case, I said, and on the 6th of November 2019, that I was going to stand for this to the end. And I stood for it to the end.
Do you think this was persecution or...
It's persecution. And in one of the book chapters that I'm writing, I said the title is Prosecution or Persecution. And I proved that it was persecution.
And you believe it's because of the small disagreement you had with the defense minister?
Exactly. The small defense I had...
Not because of any history you have in the service?
first of all, because of my IDEC presentation, you see, people will always want to delink my IDEC presentation from all this because they are novices in security issues.
What did you say at IDEC?
IDEC, I said specifically that when you look at the composition of the police council, it is the presidency. It is the party in power. Because out of the numbers, about 95% of the members are appointed by the president. And therefore, they on the instruction of the president.
That's
and
factual. What's the
that is factual.
What's
and no, let me tell you, in our security setup, in Africa in particular, and you need to know the people who were present at that gathering. General Andor was there.
Okay.
Who was also prosecution
witness, actually.
And who also was the director of defense intelligence at the time, who led the investigation. Okay? So that rings a bell. And many other BNI, other people were there. And I had already received calls and messages from people that, look, they are looking for you. Because I also had friends, and I had served at certain levels that be watchful, looking for you. They are not comfortable with the things that you said. And so I wasn't surprised that all of a sudden, once they saw my name on a tag platform, which they thought was doing something untoward, they began to link me to it. And then, without restraining himself, the Minister of Defense, Mr. Dominic Mutiu, without restraining himself, just said we must bring him to order. And soon after that, I was invited to BNI.
Are you a political partisan person?
If I were, you would have known by now because I had served. Look, do you know the people who managed the election that brought MPP to power?
You mean 2016 or 2000?
2016.
Okay.
The election where even not a fly died was managed by myself and Mr. Yohono, and with me in the thick of affairs.
Christian Tete Yohono.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
With Mr. Kudalo as the IGP. Yeah. We managed that election that brought them to power. If I were a politically partisan person, that was where you should have known this. And then I was appointed as Director of Transformation, where I worked to the best of my abilities to bring about certain things that I thought should be known by the public, who would do advocacy for us. Do you know how much money we got from that transformation program? I don't need to mention it.
Do you have any misgivings towards government?
Why will I?
The Akufo-Addo government.
Why will I? Except that for now, I'm not pleased with them the way they treated me. I don't have any misgivings about them, but I'm not happy with the way they have treated me.
Is it?
They have mistreated me. They have persecuted me, and even when the court has pronounced me acquitted and discharged, the Attorney General is walking out there to say that if they had done their work very well, I would have been also imprisoned. How could you be doing this kind of thing? If he's the Attorney General, if he had anything else, if he had some problem with the judgment, he knows what to do. Go to the Supreme Court. Go on appeal, because by the constitution of that panel...
But you're not afraid of that. It's an option too on the table, actually.
Option?
As in, it's possible.
I dare them to go. Put me on record. I dare them to go to the Supreme Court. Because the evidence is so clear. Look, I had done nothing wrong. I have done nothing wrong. They were just persecuting me. Wherever they go, they can't get me by the grace of God. I serve a living God. And that's how come I have been so confident. Yesterday you saw that I wore white to that place. None of the accused persons wore white.
Did you know anything that the rest of us did not know?
I knew I was going to be acquitted and discharged by the grace of God. One, because I knew they had no evidence against me. Two, because I knew I was being persecuted. Three, because I know that their evidence was fabricated and therefore without context, and that when brought to serious scrutiny, they will fail. And fourth, because I believed in the judges. By their conduct and everything, I may have challenges, but I knew that by their utterances and other things, they were going to...
Was there a time during this trial that you thought, no, this may not go my way? Was there a single time?
I wouldn't comment on that, because you see, I must be careful when I'm talking about certain things. I may have my reservations on a few things I'm putting on record in my book that I'm writing. When the book comes out and you read it, fine. But I wouldn't make any further comment on that.
Are you done with the police now? You are retired, right?
Yeah, but there's life after retirement.
Should they call you
If I didn't tell you...
now they give people post-retirement contracts.
If you didn't know and I didn't tell you that I was 60, will you believe it?
Oh yeah, you don't look it, Abby.
Very good. So I still have time for myself. I can do advocacy. I can work elsewhere. I can teach at the universities. And where I've been teaching before this happened.
Certainly you toned down, or you not toned down?
Am I toning down now?
It doesn't sound like that.
Yes, so I'm kind of, you see, who you are cannot be hidden. Who you are cannot be hidden. By nature, I cannot run away from the truth. That is how come I will be confident enough to mention the defense minister's name to you. Somebody else shied away from it, but I'm mentioning it. I'm mentioning it because I know it to be a fact. He can sue me if he wants. And you will see that I'll go and disgrace him in court with the evidence that you said it. Didn't you say it? Didn't you write it? Didn't you? It is on record. And there are many people who will be listening to this interview and will say, yes, we know he did.
Your lawyer has hinted of malicious prosecution and possibly seeking damages in furtherance of that. Do you support that?
I spoke to my lawyer yesterday. He intimated that, and then we discussed some of these things. It's an option on the table. I've not heard him speak about it. But if he thinks that is the best option, why not? I'll go for it.
You support that?
Why not?
You feel wronged?
I have been wronged. Do you know how this thing has cost my family? Emotionally, psychologically. Do you know? I had to be strong to keep the family strong. I had to be strong. So the strength of my family, apart from God, the strength of my family rested in the fact that I was strong. I rested my faith in God, knowing that this is how it's going to end. And I had always told them, this is how it's going to end. And God will never disappoint that. So I cannot change the way I speak. I cannot mince my words when it comes to speaking the truth. Many people have cautioned me to be careful not to talk to the media. I've listened. But I believe that, you see, sometimes this kind of tyranny reigns in silence when silence prevails. When everybody is afraid to talk. They have done it to me, and I'm quiet. They will do it to another person. But if they do it to me, and I speak out, and say this is the person who started it, and I mention his name, next time he will not do it to another person. Next time he will not do it to another person. And when he is doing it, he will be very meticulous. If I were doing it, if he wanted to take me on, a mature security expert will not make that comment before taking me on.
As we speak, how is the police going? I mean, you are out now. Do you think the police is being run properly by IGP Dr?
You know something? I have my own perceptions and my own ideas and my own critiques about the current IGP. But I will not voice them out here because it will steal the show.
Okay.
If on another occasion you decide to
discuss police
reforms,
transformation, an office that you previously held,
and how I view the current IGP's performance in the light of police transformation, I will speak to you on that.
Now that's an interesting perspective. Okay, let me take it out of the police. How do you think this country is heading?
That one too is too general, and I wouldn't want to talk about it.
You don't have a view on the governance of this country?
I wouldn't want
I thought you were bold and you stated your views clearly.
I have always been bold, but you know something? At the right time, you want to hear about my views on the way this country is being run and other things, I'll tell you. And you will find part of it in my book.
Are you being paid your entitlements?
No, I have not been paid my entitlement because I was on interdiction before I left the service, and by our regulations, the CI 76. When you are on interdiction, you have to, before proceeding on retirement, you have to wait until the case is exhausted. So now that the case is exhausted, I have to apply for my money that they've deducted over the years, and also apply for my entitlement.
Would you want to be doing anything else in Ghana, or you, as you have an international career that's big, leave the country?
I will stay in Ghana.
You stay in Ghana?
Yeah, nowhere to go.
You have an idea what you want to do?
When the time is ripe.
You want to still contribute to the development of this country?
When the time is ripe, you see me in the thick of affairs.
When they offer you an IGP position, will you take it?
That is a remote one.
Yes,
that's a
possible,
remote one.
It?
It's a remote one, but when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
Post-retirement contract, your lawyer says may be another way to assuage the harm done you. Would you take it?
When we get to that bridge, we shall cross it.
Now, finally, to those who held within their hearts the belief that you had done something wrong, those who even believe government's case against you, after what has happened, what do you have to tell them?
Well, they have their own judgment to make now, and I have nothing against them. Some of them were politically inclined, and those who knew me knew that I couldn't have done that, and I believe that fair number of Ghanaians believe I couldn't have done that. If they believed it, and now the evidence is out there to say that I wasn't involved in any planning of coup, and therefore I was acquitted and discharged yesterday, I leave it to their conscience. They have to revise their notes. Maybe some of them will still believe like the minister, the Attorney General, that if they had done their work very well, who prevented them from doing their work very well? Who prevented them from doing their work very well? So if some of them still believe that they could help the Attorney General come up with a better case for appeal. Remember, in 2020, I was granted bail.
Yeah.
A self-recognizance bill.
Yeah.
The Attorney General made noise, and I'm talking about noise in quotes, that they were going for appeal. Did they ever go for the appeal? Because the judgment was so succinct, was such that there was nothing they could do about it. The judgment I read, that was read yesterday in court. I tell you, I'm not a lawyer, but I've read a number of judgments. It was one judgment that was backed by the law.
Because it went in your favor?
Not necessarily because it went in my favor, but because that was the law they spoke. Because it didn't go in my favor alone, it went in the favor of others. And that tells you that it was not all about me. It was about others. So all the things that they put together, they evaluated it and realized that this couldn't have been the case. You were concocting a story which didn't hold.
The family, how did they take your acquittal and discharge?
Very excited, in joyful mood. My children were there. My spouse was there. Family members were there, and they were so excited because it's been something that had been hanging on our necks for some time now. We were unable to travel. We were unable to even within Ghana. You cannot travel because you have to report on Monday to BNI and report on Thursday to BNI, and therefore there was no way you could travel for 1 week unless you have a special permission. And so it restricted me, and for that matter, you could not even do any work because you went to court Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday you report, 1 day in a week. What were you going to use it for? So it was really a restraining moment, a very terrible moment. You were helpless in some instances when you know that you could have done something to help your children, and emotionally it was tormenting. And psychologically, very tormenting. But one thing, I rested my hope in God. I had faith in God that it was going to end in His praise and it was going to end in my favor. And that was what happened yesterday.
Is Ghana worth dying for, from your experience?
Have I even tried to die for Ghana? I have a challenge when the majority of people, you get into trouble and people think that that's your trouble. Mr. Kwame Pianim said something recently when they were launching something about late Professor Tamils at Legon. We said that when you have been accused for this thing, you are alone. You lose your friends. You lose your acquaintances. Nobody wants to talk to you. I tell you, I lost a lot of friends. People were scared of calling my phone because they thought their phones would be tagged, their phones would be whatever, bagged, whatever. They had their own terms of using it. I lost most of my good friends because they are not ready to talk to me. They cannot even congratulate me now because it's been more than 4 years since we ever spoke. And so you are isolated. You see, the whole thing about putting this kind of charge on you is to isolate you from the public. And for that matter, once they isolate you, you become vulnerable and they could do anything to you. And if you don't manage your life very well, you could either get sick, anything could happen to you. But I thank God that He has held my body together and everything till this time. And I'm so grateful to Him. Before you conclude, I'm grateful to a lot of friends who stood by me. And I can't mention their names here. They've been so good. They've been financially.
Okay.
I traveled recently to Kumasi, and some of them will send you money. Once they hear that you are going somewhere, they will send you money, 2,000 days, 1,000 days. I'm so grateful to them. Within this period, I lost my mom. And I had to bury my mom. In this situation, I thank all those who helped me to do that. And I thank my family for standing by me. I'm grateful.
I'm grateful to you for your time, Giselle. We should do more of this in the future.
More of this.
Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. Many thanks to you for watching.
Across Africa, a new era has begun. Shifting our focus to a new horizon, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. Today, we are making a brighter tomorrow, built by our dreams and our energy. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
For crystal clear and thrilling podcasts and live shows, download and listen to us on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, MyJoy Online, Amazon services like Echo, Amazon Music, and Audible, Stitcher, Adom Online, Overcast, and Pandora. Take note of everything. Sign up for the multimedia digital platforms now to stay updated.
For the marriage, you get the certificate before you get into the marriage, so you don't know what is ahead of you.
What would make your partner walk out of the relationship?
Probably when he finds me cheated. I don't know.
So come on, if you handle the body or what? What's his waist size? When I get home, I'll explain it. Also, Papa, 2 years or so, and 3 years ago, I can say, I can't play.
I want to go into politics.
You want to go into politics?
Yes.
Not 5 years.
Right. If you love me right.
Coming soon, an all-new Focus on Africa with me, Waihiga Mwaura. I'll be live from our studios here in Nairobi every weekday with deeper analysis, conversations, and explanation. Focus on Africa from BBC News, making sense of stories from the continent.
Prime Headlines is brought to you by
Don't take risks. Use a condom every time.
And thanks to Malatu, I kicked out malaria one time.
Some spices. Yes, sir.
Joy News, we are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Our lead stories this are cash and other items seized from the home of former Water and Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah returned as the Office of the Special Prosecutor discontinues all cases against her.
The court ordered that the office should return the cash sums and defreeze the account of an investment of Ms. Dapaah within 72 hours.
But not entirely free, as the Office of the Special Prosecutor refers Cecilia Dapaah to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, to investigate her for money laundering.
This is largely in the province of suspected money laundering and structuring. By operation of law, Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, has a specific and direct mandate in respect of suspected cases of money laundering and its attendant activity of structuring.
Also coming up, this cocoa smuggling, stalling road project in the Oti region and other parts of the country. Details as the regional minister raises alarm over a regional drop in its production from 8,000 tons to just 100. Also, our Sec Hospital series focus on the Efian Kwanta Regional Hospital in the Western region, where health workers are pleading for a working defibrillator, as the absence of it is making it difficult to save patients when they get a cardiac arrest.
We can't do anything. What we can do is to give the CPR and advance to the drugs and other stuff. And when it gets to the part where we would have to shock, we don't have it.
Details as it emerges that it is the norm in most hospitals in the country. At 8 p.m., a handover to Emma Davis to bring you Prime Business.
And task consultant Francis Timoboy tells government to go back to the drawing board to engage stakeholders before implementing the 15% VAT on electricity.
It's not a new law. And so if over the years it has not had any impact on government revenue, is it that this January that this is going to have impact on government revenue? I doubt. And it shouldn't, because look, there are several engagements that we need to do. What is going to be the impact?
At 8:30, Razak Musbah will join you with latest from the water sports.
Well, the search for a fifth Black Stars coach in 4 years begins as the Ghana Football Association unveils search committee to be headed by the Vice President, Mark Addo.
Now, we are live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125, and around the world on myjoyonline.com, and also on all our social media platforms. Please do stay with us.
Joy News Prime Headlines was brought to you by
Don't take risks.